Live from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City, you're in the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live, like I said, from Denver, Colorado, on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it. It's very, very simple to get a hold of us right here at the Sports Wagering Zone. We're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So, welcome to the show. Yeah, I have a lot to talk about today. We're going to start taking a look at some college football ideas and thoughts at the upcoming season. We're not far away. We're just a few weeks away. Things will start cranking up again in early September. And of course, right after that, you have the NFL season starting as well. So we're going to kind of take a look at some games that are going to be what we kind of hear at the zone kind of think are most important to kind of take a look at, kind of give you some thoughts and ideas on them as well. Of course, Major League Baseball is still the king right now. So we're going to be taking a look at three games and take a look and see which direction the line movement is going, as well as trying to find out in which direction the pros are going. The three games we're looking at will be Seattle against the Yankees, the Giants against the Brewers, and of course, the Washington Nationals against the Atlanta Braves. So those are the three games we're going to take a look at. We'll bring you up to date as to how well or how bad it did yesterday and how it's been doing so far in the month of August as well. But as usual, one of the first things we do when we start the show is we talk about what happened the day before. The day before, yes, sir. Trying to find out exactly some of the betting strategies, some of the ideas, storylines, things of that nature, especially the way the underdogs did and how the favorites did. So to kind of keep you up to date on that. So if you use any of those statistics, they're for you right now. So Major League Baseball is really the major thing that happened yesterday. Of course, the Olympics have finally come to an end, so that's all over with. So baseball right now, of course, is king. Before long, college football is going to step in, and then, of course, NFL football as well. But of course, for you people up in Canada, the CFL is already underway. So we talked about that yesterday and the day before. Meanwhile, in baseball yesterday, going back to our thoughts, the favorites, they went 12-4 to show you how well the favorites have been doing in baseball so far this season. Over the past 4 days, they've gone 44-14. Okay, 44-14 over the past 4 days as far as favorites in Major League Baseball. Although yesterday you had upsets by the Nationals, and because when these upsets come in, they're usually pretty good on the money line. The Nationals were a plus 220 against the Braves. The Red Sox were a plus 170 against the Blue Jays. The Giants were a plus 169 against the Brewers. And finally, the Tigers were a plus 134 up against the Indians. Of course, all these numbers on the money line. The favorites, like we said, they lead now for the entire season at 58.7 8%. So you can say it's like 59%. You're almost at 60% as a win percentage for the favorites so far this season. The unders went 10-5-1 yesterday. The overs, they still lead, but just a little over 50% at 50.2%. So that's the story as far as what happened yesterday, as far as betting is concerned. Baseball, like we say, is the king. We do have three games we're going to take a closer look at, let you know what the line movement on it was, as well as trying to give you an idea as to which direction the pros are going in it as well. And like I said, we're going to be talking college football today. I'm going to give you some thoughts and ideas on when the season opens up and some things to look forward to, things that you need to start paying attention to when the time comes if you're looking to bet on college football. So we're going to take our first break right now. And like we say, usually we take 3 breaks within the show. Each one is of 1 minute duration. So if that's the case, we will be back in the zone in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. Here we go again. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. We're live every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. During the week, we're live here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So let's take a look at some baseball action for today. 3 games on tap to take a closer look at to give you an idea as to which direction the line movement is flowing. And of course, that way we can determine in which direction the professional bettors are going. Now, it's up to you to decide in which direction you want to go, whether you want to go with them or against them. When we get done talking about these 3 games, we're going to tell you about how well this little system has been working so far this season, especially so far this past week. Anyway, the 1 o'clock game this afternoon we're looking at, you got the Seattle Mariners once again playing the New York Yankees. The Mariners are 58-54. The New York Yankees 61-49. Now, the Yankees have taken the first 3 games of this 4-game series. They won close in each time. They won 5-3, they won 3-2, they won 5-4, and they've won 5 straight games and 8 of their last 9 games. Okay, they won 5 straight, 8 of the last 9. The Yankees have really gotten hot since they got these deals that they put together, picking up Rizzo from the Cubs, picking up Joey Gallo. So they're really coming through for them at the current time. The Yankees now trail the Rays by only 5.5 games, which is really not a lot at this point in the season in that American League East. Now, New York is also still at plus 650 to win the division. So You kind of think they're hot and they're going to continue going and that they will win the division. You're at plus 650 on the money line. May not be a bad idea to kind of look into that situation. But in this afternoon's final game, Seattle comes in with their left-hander Yusei Kikuchi. He's 7-1 with a 3.89 ERA. And New York gives the ball to their right-hander, Luis Gil, who pitched his first game of his career last time out, won very easily, has a 0 ERA with a 1-0 record. So this for Luis is his second start. He won the last time, which was his very first time that he pitched for the Yankees. Now, looking at the line in this game, it opened with the Yankees as a minus 154, home favorite as an opening on the money line. The Mariners, on the other side, they were a plus 140 as a road dog. Now, right now, the public is all over those red hot Yankees. They're looking for them to complete the sweep at home. However, despite all this lopsided money and betting that's coming in on the Yankees, the line still kind of moved towards Seattle, going from a plus 140 to a plus 130. So, what does this mean? Very simple. We call this a reverse line movement on the Mariners. They also have value in this game, besides that, as being a road dog in a game that's going to have a high total. The higher amount of expected runs scored, the more variance and upset opportunities, and that favors the underdog. The pros also seem to be leaning on the under in this game. The total is 9.5, but the under is juiced to minus 115. In this series so far, the under is 3-0. As far as the weather goes, high 70s for the temperature, 5 to 10 mile per hour winds blowing in from right field at Yankee Stadium. So, as far as the pros are concerned, they are going to be on the Seattle Mariners, the underdog in this particular game. The general public very heavily in on the New York Yankees. And of course, why not? With the stats I just finished giving you, 5 straight wins, 8 of the last 9 games. It looks like maybe they finally caught fire. And of course, like I said, on the money line, if you're looking for the winner of the East in the American League, the Yankees are still at plus 650 on the money line, so you might want to look into that as well. But again, the pros in this game, they're on the Seattle Mariners. Meanwhile, at 2 o'clock, you got the San Francisco Giants, who are 70-41, up against the Milwaukee Brewers at 66-45. Now, these are World Series contenders. The Giants are a plus 900 on the money line. The Brewers a plus 1,100 on the money line. Now, they split the first 2 games of the series. Brewers won the first game 2-1. They were minus 140 home favorites. The Giants came back with a 9-6 victory yesterday, plus 165 as a road dog. So, in this afternoon's final game, San Francisco comes in with their right-hander, Johnny Cueto, who is 7-6 so far this season with a 3.83 ERA. Milwaukee, on the other hand, comes back with their left-hander, Brett Anderson. He's 4-5 with a 3.67 ERA. So if we look at the line in this game, it opened with the Brewers a minus 118 home favorite on the money line, as the Giants are a plus 108 road dog. Now, the public sees 2 really elite top teams, and they really don't know who to back. But of course, as usual, the pros always make up their minds. They either go one way or another, and they've gone and they sided with the San Francisco Giants. What that did was it moved the Giants from being a plus 108 to a minus 103 on the money line. So they totally flipped that game. So essentially, the game is now a pick 'em. The Giants are 19-15 against lefties, 25-19 as a dog. San Francisco's going to lean on their hitting as well. The Giants are hitting 244, ranks them 12th overall in the league. And the Brewers are hitting at 227 as a team, which ranks them 28th. We could also be seeing a lower scoring game. The total in this game is 9, but the under already is juiced up to minus 120, which means before you know it, it'll probably come in at 8.5 as a money line as far as the number of runs scored is concerned. So in this game between the Giants and the Brewers, Giants that started out as an underdog because of the heavy money coming in by the pros actually jumped up to being a favorite instead. So we have one more game to look at, the Washington Nationals and the Atlanta Braves, and we're going to do that after we take our second break. We take a look at that. Also give you an idea as to how well or how bad this system or method, whatever you want to call it, is operating right now. I'll give you some totals, some numbers to bring your statistical data up to snuff. So let's get that second break out of the way. And just a reminder, you're in the sports wagering zone. We'll be back in the zone in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone because here we go again. We're coming to you live from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, or perhaps you're listening on one of the podcasting platforms that we're on, like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcast. We're all over. Very, very easy to get a hold of us. So there are 3 games that we've been going to take a look at today as far as baseball is concerned, checking on their line movement and, of course, trying to check and see in which direction the pros are going in these games as well. We already talked about the Mariners against the Yankees, and in this particular game, the pros are on the Seattle Mariners. The Yankees have won 3 games already. This is the 4th game in the series. The Yankees have won 5 straight games, 8 of their last 9 games. The general public very heavily on the New York Yankees. However, the pros seem to think Seattle is ready to come back and take this game. Also, we talked about the San Francisco Giants and the Milwaukee Brewers. And in this particular game, once again, they like the San Francisco Giants, who started out as an underdog in this game and have been flipped because of the money coming in on the Giants from the pros. So they like the Giants in this game. They are the favorite, but it's kind of a pick 'em, when you're at the minus 1.5 or somewhere in that particular area. You're always looking at as a flip 'em. It could go either way. So the pros in this game, however, are on the San Francisco Giants. Now, finally, at 2 o'clock, you got the Washington Nationals against the Atlanta Braves. The Nationals are 50-61 this season. The Braves are 56-55, just a smidgen over 500. The Braves won the series opener 8-4. In that game, they were minus 190 home favorites. And then they blew a 2-0 lead in the 9th inning yesterday, and they lost to the Nationals 3-2 in a really heartbreaking way, no doubt about it. Okay, if you had Atlanta, of course, if you had Washington, it wasn't heartbreaking. Washington came from behind to cash in as a plus 220 road dog in this game. But, despite losing that game yesterday, Atlanta is just 2 games behind the division leading Philadelphia Phillies, not the New York Mets anymore. The Braves are a plus 200 dog to win that National League East. So that's something you might want to look into. In this afternoon's last game, the Nationals start their left-hander, Patrick Corbin. He's 6-10 with a 5.74 ERA. And the Braves, they come out with their left-hander, Max Fried, who's 8-7 with a 4.05 ERA. Now, in this game, the line opened with Atlanta as a minus 200 home favorite. Washington, a plus 180 road dog. Now, in this game, the wise guys or the pros, they're not scared by that big number. They've steamed the Braves up from being a minus 200 to a minus 220. Now, keep this in mind. Home favorites at minus 200 on the money line or more are at almost 70% this season. 70%. So you're looking at home favorites minus 200 or more, okay? And with that 20 cent move, are at almost 70% this season. The Braves are 15-12 against lefties. The Nationals are 13-20 against lefties. Atlanta's 28-28 at home, right at 500. Washington, they're 21-31 on the road. Atlanta is 8-4 against Washington this season. Won 8 games, lost 4 games. So in this game, pros are on the favorite, the Atlanta Braves, over the Washington Nationals. And of course, if you do like this game or you're thinking of betting on the Braves in this game, keep one thing in mind. You're at minus 220 on the money line, which means once again, you're going to be laying some heavy wood. Pros like the game. That's where we look at it. It's up to you to decide whether you want to go with them or against them. Just to give you an idea, yesterday we had 3 plays. We had Seattle against the Yankees. In that game, we had the Yankees, and it won. The Mets against Philadelphia. We had Philadelphia, and they won. Marlins against the Rockies here in Denver. The Rockies came through and won. So we had 3 plays yesterday and 3 winners. The day before that, we had 3 plays and 2 winners. The day before that, we had 2 plays and 2 winners. So far, for this month, of course, it's been 1 week gone by right now, we've had 20 plays. Okay. And out of those 20 plays, we had 13 winners. Now that puts you at 65% as a win percentage total. Again, are they too hot? Are they ready to cool down now? That's up to you to decide which way you want to go. Either they're going to stay hot, although 65% is a very high number. Even for the pros, that's a high number. They're normally in the 58 to 60, 61% area. They're not far from it, but they are kind of on the side as far as that's concerned. So you might be looking at these numbers and say, well, they're about ready to start losing some games, so I'm going to bet against them. But the question is, out of the 3 games, which ones are going to go in which direction? Again, we give it to you in chronological order. So the first game we talked about between the Yankees and the Mariners, they're at 1 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, you got the Giants and the Brewers. And also at 2 o'clock, you have Washington against Atlanta. But yesterday, because of the 3 plays, they had 3 winners. Just kind of let you know how well the system is doing. For the season so far, it's pretty close to 55% as far as a win total percentage is concerned. So that's up to you to decide. Those are the numbers. You make the final decision. And also, we've been talking about the winning and losing streaks. We talked about this in the past. Generally, you have to understand something. You decide what you think a winning or a losing streak should be. Here at the Zone, we look at 6 games. After a team wins or loses 6 games, we consider that the beginning of a streak. So, yesterday there was a game that was in this streak category. That was Philadelphia against the Mets. They were on a 6 game winning streak. And of course, if you bet you thought they were going to go on further, you would continue on with that streak, which they did do. They won. So now they're at 7 games. They're at a 7 game winning streak right now. But again, like I said, you have to decide what that number is going to be. If you want to be a little more conservative, you may not get as many plays, but you may say, hey, I want it to be 10. I think 10 is the number. Or you might think 12 is the number, or 8, whatever. Once again, it's up to you to decide. For the sense of the way we look at it, from all of the data that we were able to put together, we kind of think that 6 is a good number. It gives you enough action in there if you like to play those kind of things. And also, that's usually a pretty good number to look at. But again, it's up to you. If you decide that 8 is the number, then you leave Philadelphia alone for another game. If they win the 8th game, then it fits into your category. Then they want to either continue the streak or you think it's going to come to an end. Once again, up to you to decide. So that's the story with baseball. We're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at college football, give you some thoughts and ideas, the upcoming season, take a look at some games that are going to be played, kind of look at some lines on some of those games, give you our thoughts and ideas on them as well. So let's get that third break out of the way, and we'll be back in 1 minute. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone, coming to you live from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as we are every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. During the week, Monday through Friday, we're on at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So we talked about baseball, and we'll review the 3 games once again before we go off the air. But let's change the subject. Let's go to college football because that's going to be coming up in about 3 weeks from now. And as we look at college football for this season, one thing is for sure, the game has really changed, and it changed very fast. College football players get paid now. That is huge. Okay. Well, allow me to rephrase that. College football players can now be paid out in the open. Okay. There are times through the years where boosters would, give them jobs or give them some money, things of that nature. It was always clandestine, it was always hidden, but every now and then somebody found out about it. And of course, they were put to the test for that. But now you can do it in the open. What would once get you suspended can now really earn you a pretty nice living as a college football player. And of course, the college football playoffs is expanding also. Not now and probably not next year, but a bigger bracket is really on the horizon. More meaningful games to wager on, that's coming on also. More meaningful matchups between programs that rarely get to play against each other. So there's going to be a lot more of just about everything. Now, but for as much as college football is changing, the biggest change for this coming season is going to be very familiar to everybody, and that is fans. Fans will be filling the stadiums. You're going to have live mascots. There's going to be pageantry, traditions, elements that make college football one of the greatest sports on the planet. And if you've never been to one, especially like an OU Texas game, which I've gone to a couple of times when I lived in Dallas, there's just nothing like it. It's really interesting. It's a great sport to watch. It's a great sport to bet on. And like I said, it looks like things are starting to come back to normal. One of the things you have to think about if you're going to be betting college football is that the home field advantage is back. So let's kind of think about this for a minute. Gambling on college football games in large or completely empty stadiums really took some getting used to. Remember, you turned that first game on, it was quiet, there's no screaming and hollering, no cheering or anything. So let me be more direct. I really hated it when it happened, and I'm sure you weren't that crazy about it either. Okay. But you know what? However, it did allow the underdogs to really have their moments to shine. It made a road trip in a lot of situations far less daunting than it was in the past. Playing in that empty Happy Valley last year wasn't kind to Penn State, okay? The same can be said to a team like Wisconsin and Madison, Ohio State and Columbus. In a limited season, none of these three was over 500 against the spread while being at home. So you can see where the underdogs did very, very well last year. Now, barring the unforeseen, college football is completely going to have their fans back. Home field advantages will be there once again. You have to start factoring that into whatever it is that you're doing. So let's take a quick look at a couple of games that are going to be coming up before you know it. Okay. Let's take a look at Clemson against Georgia. Okay. Now, you might disagree with me. What I think are games that you should be taking a look at, bets that you might be thinking about making, and that's fine with me. That's what we're here for. You can disagree, and because we can agree to disagree. But I just want to talk about some of these games early in the situation. The first game I'm looking at, September the 4th, just a stone's throw away. Clemson against Georgia. The game of the year, as far as I'm concerned, comes in this first week. Clemson has been labeled a 4-point favorite in this game, and it's kind of noteworthy to kind of see it. I'd like to point out that I can still see both teams making the playoffs, Clemson and Georgia, because both of the rosters are stockpiled with stars, 5 stars each. Both quarterbacks have Heisman aspirations and ideas. So much to love about this game. That's why we watch college football, because of games like this. And of course, that's September 4th, Clemson against Georgia. Next, I'm looking at about around October. First week in October, October 9th, got Alabama against Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban have a lot of history together and against each other. In fact, Fisher, he's really let it known this year. He's gunning for the throne, and he's really going to be trying to do it this year. At home with one of the best crowds in football. They have a roster that's closed the talent gap in most years over at Texas A&M. Feels like a good place to kind of take this game. They'll be at Texas A&M, fans rooting, screaming, and hollering. So kind of a game you might want to take a close look at. Right now, A&M is a double-digit underdog in this game. I expect that number to come down as people start looking at this game. This could be a great deal of fun to look at. Also, then in September as well, September 11th, in the second week, I like Oregon and Ohio State. We were kind of deprived of this matchup last year, which is kind of a shame, but we're going to have it this year and also next year as well. It's going to be played on campuses with really fabulous college environments. Now, can Oregon slow down Ohio State's ridiculous crop of whiteouts? Who knows? How will the Ducks manage what should be an overwhelming crowd when they're at Ohio State? The 10-point spread is kind of on the high side for a game that's anticipated as this one is going to be. But I can't wait to see how it kind of plays out. Also, very tempted to lay those points in this game as well. And the game that I seen in the past, Oklahoma, Texas. This game is going to be played in Texas, so it's going to be in Dallas, or actually in Irving, Texas now. But I remember going to one of these games many, many years ago when I lived in Dallas. They call it the OU Texas weekend, and it's absolutely fantastic. If you've never been to those type of situations, you're really missing out on something if you're a sports fan. A lot of fun, a lot going on. You kind of get caught up, even though I wasn't a Texas fan or an Oklahoma fan at the time. It was just a lot of fun to go to and very exciting. So Oklahoma has largely dominated this rivalry and in this particular conference. But Steve Sarkisian, he is a real bold hire this year by Texas. And it's a hire that I really liked when I first heard about it. Now, beyond the fried food, because there's also the State Fair of Texas going on at the same time, okay? And there's a lot of hatred between these two teams, no doubt about it. Watching the two best play callers in the sport go toe to toe is something you should be able to look at and see, and that's on October the 9th. At the moment, the Sooners are nearly a double-digit chalk in this game. That feels like kind of a little too much for me. But you know what? Past history tells me I might be very wrong. So those are just a few games that are coming up in college football. College football, like I said, is going to be changing drastically. You're going to have fans in the seats. You're going to have live different types of situations going on. The underdogs won't have the advantage they had going in. Okay. So these are things we're going to look at a little closer as we go on from week to week. But that September 4th game, the very first week of the college football between Clemson and Georgia, it should be a game you shouldn't miss. Even if you're not betting it, if you like college football, if you like football, that should be a real good matchup to watch as it comes along. And again, that's September the 4th. Okay, that's the story there. Let's go back to those three baseball games we talked about earlier, kind of give you an idea as to how the pros are going. Seattle against the Yankees in this game, they kind of think Seattle's going to come back and win one. The Yankees won the first three games. Seattle is the underdog in this game. Giants against the Brewers. In this game, the pros are on the Giants. Even though the Giants did start out as the underdog in this game, they are now the favorite. It's still in that pick'em category, so it's really a pick'em if you want to take a look at it from that perspective. The pros are on the Giants. And finally, the Washington Nationals against the Atlanta Braves. In that game, the pros are on the Atlanta Braves, but keep one thing in mind. You're going to be laying some real heavy wood in that game if you like Atlanta and if you want to bet that game. It's already at minus 200, 220 in some areas. So just be prepared to lay that wood in this game. Is it worth it? Well, you'll find out tomorrow when the game is over. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Had a great day. Hope you're having a great weekend. I know I am. And still the rest of the day to go. Got some baseball games to look at. The Olympics are over. That's finished with. So baseball is the king right now. Before you know it, college football comes on board, and then the NFL season begins a week or two later. So thank you very much for listening. Just a reminder, we're here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're here on Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So tomorrow we're here live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the I 95 Sports and Entertainment Network. And as well, we're on most of the major podcast platforms as well, such as Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. We're on most of them as well. So thanks very much for listening. I hope you're having a great weekend. And if you're going to do any more betting this weekend, I really hope you make it and you have a very successful weekend as well. So until tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm Chris Pardo. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.